Now, let's move on to Express News and get you the second item of the 100 that we have for you. Well, the court has announced compensation of 2 lakh rupees to families of each deceased victim and 50,000 rupees to the injured in the Malagaon blast case of 2008. India has reacted to US President Donald Trump's statement on bilateral trade, saying that the government will take all steps necessary to secure national interests. It added that the government attaches the utmost importance to protecting the welfare of farmers, entrepreneurs and MSMEs, which is effectively what the Commerce Minister said just now. Now, the monsoon session of Parliament is underway in New Delhi. Both houses witnessed multiple disruptions on Thursday, with the opposition raising the issue of a special intensive review of the electoral rolls in Bihar. Also during the session, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla extended congratulations from the House to all scientists for the launch of NASA ISRO's Synthetic Aperture Radar or NISA satellite via the GSLV F-16 rocket on the 30th of July. In the upper house, Deputy Chairperson of Rajya Sabha Harivansh also said that India has successfully launched NISA and this mission reflects India's rising stature as a trusted and capable spacefaring nation and underscores remarkable strides of India's scientific community in advancing frontiers of knowledge for betterment of humanity. India's President Draupadi Murmu is on a visit to Jharkhand and was received by State Governor Santosh Kumar Gangwar upon her arrival on Thursday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic conversation with UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan on Wednesday. The two leaders reaffirmed their mutual commitment to further strengthen the bilateral comprehensive strategic partnership. At the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President of the Republic of Philippines, Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will pay a state visit to India from the 4th to the 8th of next month. Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi called on Japan's Defense Minister General Nakatani during his ongoing visit to Japan. The visit reaffirms the time-tested India-Japan friendship. Panama's Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carlos Arturo Hoyos, has held delegation-level talks with Secretary West Tanmay Lal in Delhi. In a tweet, the Ministry of External Affairs said both had useful conversations on UN matters. Vice Army Chief Lieutenant General N.S. Raja Subramani has retired from service on Thursday. The Army expressed deep gratitude for his contributions to national security and gave him a 21-gun salute. Vice Admiral Krishna Swaminathan took charge as Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Indian Navy's Western Naval Command on Thursday. Swaminathan's appointment marks a key leadership transition in the Navy's premier operational formation. India and the UAE have reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening bilateral defence cooperation during the 13th India-UAE Joint Defence Cooperation Committee meeting held at the secretary level for the first time in New Delhi. S.B.K. Singh, presently posted as Director General of Home Guards in India's capital Delhi, is assigned the additional charge of the post of Delhi Commissioner of Police. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on Thursday approved a total outlay of 6,520 crore Indian rupees for the ongoing central sector scheme, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. The Cabinet also approved the central sector scheme Grant and Aid to National Cooperative Development Corporation with an outlay of 2,000 Indian crore rupees for a period of 4 years. The All India Institute of Medical Sciences, or AIIMS Delhi, organized Miracle of Mind with Sadhguru program on Wednesday in New Delhi, where renowned spiritual leader Sadhguru interacted with students and experts from the field of medicine. Sadhguru said that mental health is not limited to medications or clinical treatments, but is deeply connected to our way of thinking, lifestyle and inner consciousness. India is observing Martyrdom Day of Shaheed Udham Singh on Thursday. It commemorates his execution on the 31st of July in 1940. Indian equity indices ended lower on Thursday. Nifty 50 was down 86.70 points at 24,768, 0.35. At close, the Sensex was down 296.28 points at 81,185.58 on Thursday. The Indian rupee ended lower by 18 paise to 87.60 per USD on Thursday again. Gold futures maturing on the 5th of August was priced at 98,431 Indian rupees per 10 grams on the multi-commodity exchange. Silver futures for the 5th of September maturity stood at 110,467 Indian rupees per kg at the MCX. India has outpaced Japan in solar energy generation, becoming the world's third largest solar power producer. Brent crude oil was priced at $72.60 per barrel on Thursday. Microsoft's Azure cloud computing business delivered another quarter of blockbuster growth on Wednesday, powering revenue above Wall Street's expectations. Azure sales surpassed $75 billion on an annual basis. The Bank of Japan kept its main interest rate unchanged at 0.5% on Thursday, while cautiously welcoming recent trade deals with the United States and hiking its growth and inflation forecasts. Warner Brothers Discovery is laying off around 10% of its motion picture group employees as part of a restructuring effort ahead of the company's split into two separate entities. The layoffs might lead to delays or scaling back of some projects. US President Donald Trump on Wednesday announced he is imposing a 25% tariff on imports from India starting the 1st of August. Also, he said that the United States is still negotiating with India on trade. Trump signed an executive order implementing an additional 40% tariff on Brazil, bringing the total tariff amount to 50%. The order said the tariffs would go into effect 7 days after its signing on Wednesday. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has hit back at the move, saying he would defend the sovereignty of the Brazilian people in the face of measures announced by the President of the United States. The US has announced a trade deal with South Korea that will subject South Korean imports to 15% tariff on imports as part of an agreement with the Asian trading partner. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung said on Thursday that the country's tariff deal with the United States cleared up uncertainties on exports. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said during an interview that the United States has made trade deals with Cambodia and Thailand ahead of President Donald Trump's 1st of August tariff deadline. French Finance Minister Eric Lombard said on Wednesday that the European Union's negotiating strategy with the US on trade had not been vigorous enough. Acknowledging the limitations, he said that a better deal might have been hard to obtain. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said on Wednesday that tariff negotiations with the US President and his administration have been constructive, but the talks may not conclude by the 1st of August deadline. Canada has said it intends to recognize the Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly in September. Prime Minister Carney stressed that the move was necessary to preserve hopes of a two-state solution on the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Blasting Canada, Israeli Foreign Ministry said this announcement represents a reward to terrorist faction Hamas and harms the efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza and a framework for the release of the hostages. The Egyptian Ministry of Defense airdropped humanitarian aid over Gaza on Wednesday. 4 military transport planes dropped tons of food supplies by parachute over areas inaccessible by land. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday and thanked Egypt for its mediation efforts to secure a ceasefire in Gaza. The United Arab Emirates conducted more aid airdrops over Gaza on Wednesday. It announced that across 4 consecutive days, it has conducted 57 aid airdrops, which include 3,775 tons of food and humanitarian supplies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said on Wednesday that he had approved key principles for large-scale weapons agreements with the United States. At least 6 people were killed and 83 wounded after a Russian drone struck Ukraine's capital Kyiv on Thursday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia launched more than 300 drones and 8 missiles and hit residential buildings in the capital. And Russia, in its turn, has said that Ukrainian drones had struck a local industrial facility The drone debris had hit railway infrastructure and temporarily halted trains in the southern Volgograd region. Russia's defense ministry said it has downed 32 Ukrainian drones over several regions. 25 people were injured after a Delta Airlines flight from Utah to Amsterdam was diverted to Minneapolis due to severe turbulence. In a statement, the authorities said that the plane was carrying 275 passengers and 13 crew. Medical personnel evaluated everyone on board after it landed safely in Minneapolis. An F-35 fighter jet crashed near Naval Air Station Lemoore in Central California on Wednesday. The U.S. Navy confirmed that the pilot successfully ejected and is safe with no additional affected personnel. Myanmar's ruling junta on Thursday announced the formation of an 11-member commission led by military chief Min Aung Hlaing to hold elections in December. Min will continue to effectively remain in charge of the country. Lithuania's Prime Minister Gintautas Paluckas announced his resignation on Thursday. A junior party in Lithuania's government on Wednesday threatened to quit the ruling coalition unless Paluckas resigned over business ties to a company owned by his sister-in-law. Japan's weather office lifted tsunami advisory imposed earlier after Russia's Far East was rocked by one of the strongest earthquakes on record. Caldera residents stayed composed as evacuations began following the 8.8 magnitude quake of Russia, sparking Pacific tsunami alerts. Torrential rain swamped roads and farmlands in Zhoushan and Ningbo in Zhejiang province as emergency crews raced to manage storm damage in China. A storm surge sent 3.7-meter high waves crashing into Rio's coastline, forcing the closure of coastal avenues. A thick sandstorm swept through Huaquin City, causing event cancellations and highway shutdowns. Wildfires are raging across central Spain with hundreds of firefighters and emergency units battling flames through the night. In Bulgaria, strong winds made firefighting even harder, prompting evacuations in the village of Ploski. In northern Portugal, 800 personnel and 7 aircraft fought wildfires in the Aruaca Mountains. Washington, D.C. in the U.S. is sweltering under an extreme heat wave. An alert has been issued with temperatures touching 36.6 degrees Celsius and a heat index soaring past 106. In a rare sight from China, a breathtaking sea of clouds was seen enveloping Mount Hua, known for its steep and dramatic cliffs. India's capital Delhi saw much-needed relief from the heat as heavy showers and thunderstorms brought temperatures down. Amid the Delhi weather alert, the Indian Meteorological Department has issued a red alert for the national capital. Moderate rainfall was forecast at many places of the western part of India during the next 6 to 7 days. In the northeast, heavy to very heavy rain will continue in Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya till the 3rd of August. In the south, Kerala, Karnataka, Telangana, coastal Andhra Pradesh and Lakshadweep are also set to receive steady rain through the week. The South Pacific nation of Vanuatu celebrated 45 years of independence from British and French colonial rule with a grand military parade. Guangzhou in China is now home to the world's largest perfume museum, featuring over 300 global fragrances. The museum fuses science, culture and art to revive ancient rituals and boost tourism. Turkish authorities have begun restoration of the 3,000-year-old Zerzevan castle, which houses the recently discovered Mithras temple. In Abuja, artist Emmanuel Ekokotu is sculpting tree roots into cultural artworks now displayed in a local museum. 8 of the 22 axolots rescued from illegal trafficking are now on display at Rio de Janeiro's Aquarios to raise awareness about their critically endangered status. Dozens of hot air balloons filled with the sky at sunrise in France's Hagueville during a global ballooning event. Pope Leo made a surprise appearance at St. Peter's Square to greet the youth at the Jubilee of Youth Mass. Over 500,000 young Catholics are expected in Rome for the Jubilee, part of the 2025 Holy Year. Indigenous singers celebrated the opening of Bidasi J Park on Toronto's revitalized Don River waterfront. Hong Kong's 5-day Anicom and Games Fair concluded on Tuesday with shows on anime, comics, games and collectibles. Hit Netflix series Wednesday returns to screens with a focus on family and female friendships nearly 3 years after the show launched in November 2022. Season 2 of the dark fantasy series received a Gothic global premiere at London's Westminster, with its cast and creators walking a purple carpet by the gardens outside Central Hall and the road in front of Queen Elizabeth II Centre. The Netflix animated film K-pop Demon Hunters continues to trend on global music charts. The film's hit single Golden ranked second on the US Billboard charts and fourth on the UK charts. Netflix has unveiled the first look of Pride and Prejudice series. The 6-part limited series promises a faithful adaptation of Austen's immortal 1813 novel from Heartstopper. Christopher Nolan's upcoming film Odyssey faces backlash for filming in Western Sahara, drawing criticism over ethical and political concerns. Makers of the upcoming film Tehran, with John Abraham in lead, unveils the first poster. The movie will premiere on OTT platform Z5. And ahead of its release, makers of War 2 have released the maiden track of the movie. War 2 will hit the theatres on the 14th of August. Vidya Balan's debut film Parinita is set to re-release on the big screen on the 29th of August, marking the 20 years since its original release in 2005. The movie will be released in selected cinemas across India by PVR Inox. Hindi version of animated movie Mahavatar Narsimha is witnessing a surprising run at the box office as the film nears 25 crore mark. Indian Film Festival of Melbourne will honour late filmmaker Ritvik Ghatak on his 100th birth anniversary with a special tribute. Sportsman England captain Ollie Pope won the toss and opted to bowl against India in the 5th Test in London at the Oval. India made 4 changes in the playing 11. Dhruv Jurel is keeping wickets after Rishabh Pant was ruled out due to injury. India's left-arm pacer Arshdeep Singh has made a Test debut against England in the 5th match. India's star fast bowler Jasprit Bumrah has been rested for the 5th Test as part of workload management. England captain Ben Stokes said the team weighed risk and reward, and the risk was too high for him to play in the 5th Test. India's doubles pair of Sathwik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty will face Japanese duo Kakeru Kumagai and Hiroki Nishi in the 2nd round of the Macau Open Badminton Tournament. India's top shuttler Lakshya Sen stormed into the 2nd round of the Macau Open Badminton Tournament with straight-game win over Jeonjin of South Korea. In another singles match, HS Pranoy suffered an early exit from the tournament after losing 18-21, 21-15 and 21-16 to Indonesia's Johannes Marcelino. India's chess grandmaster and newly crowned Women's World Cup champion Divya Deshmukh got a grand reception in her hometown Nagpur. The Indian football team will participate in the CAFA Nations Cup 2025 starting from the 29th of August in Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Taylor Fritz secured a tight 7-5, 7-6 win over Roberto Baena at the ATP Toronto Masters. Iga Swiatek cruised past Chinese qualifier Gao Hanyu 6-3, 6-1 to book her spot in the third round of the Canadian Open. However, it was hard going for four-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, who saved 2 match points in a 4-6, 7-6, 6-3 triumph over Lyudmila Samsonova. Usually Bouchard called time on her tennis career with a second-round loss in the Canadian Open in Montreal. And local authorities confirmed that German double Olympic biathlon champion Laura Delmier has died after a mountaineering accident in Pakistan. And now we're cutting across to